Hi everybody, I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Pat Cavlin here, just with a quick weather update. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued for parts of Walker, Montgomery, and San Jacinto County. That goes until 3:45. This includes nearly 8,000 people. It also includes the cities of New Waverly, Willis, and the northern edge of Conroe. Tons of lightning with this. We've had over 100 strikes in just the last 10 minutes alone. We'll pause this image and we'll get you in for a closer look just to see who's included. Notice that magenta, that pink core there, crossing over FM 1375, diving to the south towards Highway 75, towards I-45, and towards FM 1097. That is a hail core, and that's also the core of the strongest winds with this storm. So wherever you see that dark red, and then within that, again, the magenta and all those lightning strikes, that's the core of the storm. So that's where you're going to find the most damage, potential for damaging wind gusts, again, some large hail, and a lot of lightning. Now, we do have damage reports coming into the newsroom right now from Huntsville, where this storm came from. This storm came from Huntsville, where it actually led to a roof collapse on a auto body shop along I-45, and it seems like there may be some folks injured up there. We also have reports of trees down in downtown Huntsville, so a really powerful storm here that's diving to the south. So if you live in Willis, if you live in Panorama Village, even if you live in Conroe, this is something that you'll want to start to pay very close attention to. Move inside, get away from windows, make sure that you're in a sturdy structure as these winds come through. Again, if you have any big trees around your property, you want to be into the most interior part of your home in case any large branches or trees do come down. Obviously, you don't want to be on the edge of your home in case one of these trees were to unfortunately come through. So just things to keep in mind as this storm gets closer. No tornado with this. This is just a severe thunderstorm warning, but again, the potential to see some damage and wind gusts not out of the question. So we switch over to our velocity mode. Notice the brighter green color that we have here to the west of I-45. That indicates where we have some of the strongest winds. So here's I-45 just to the west. We've got the brighter green color there. That indicates where we're seeing some stronger wind gusts. We'll see what the radar is seeing within this, gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour. So getting close to 50 mile per hour gusts. And that wind, by the way, is looking up into the storm. So as it comes down to the surface, as this wind rushes down to the ground with this heavy rainfall, we could see those winds accelerate close to 55, 60, and 65 miles per hour. And that's likely some of the wind that did damage up in the Huntsville area. So again, if you're watching us in Panorama Village, in Willis, down through Conroe, this is a storm for you. Even out towards Cut and Shoot, even though you're not included into the warning, this storm is moving to the southeast at about looks like 25 miles per hour. Also something interesting I'm now starting to see, maybe some signs of rotation here. Notice where we see the brighter green and the darker red here. So that indicates where we've got winds going towards the radar site and away from the radar site. So that's a sign that the storm is probably trying to get a little better organized. Typically when storms organize and they tap into the right environment, they tend to rotate and they become what's called mesocyclones or supercell thunderstorms. We might be starting to see that here just based on what I'm seeing with this, with this signature, this radar signature. We'll have to wait for a couple more scans just to see if it holds true or if it's just a radar artifact. But either way, a really potent storm here. Again, diving from Walker County now into Montgomery County. So if you live in Willis, again, Panorama Village, getting into Conroe, this is something that you'll want to probably head inside for. So it's crossing over the worst of it now, approaching FM 1097, moving towards I-45 and Highway 75. That's where we're seeing the worst of this storm right now. Some really powerful winds with this. In fact, let's do another investigation to see how strong these winds are.
If nothing else,
now
increase the hail threat, just that rotation.
That could increase it also. I'm just talking to Chief Meteorologist David Paul. He's off screen here, mentioning that with that kind of a rotation in a storm, we also got the chance for larger hail. So two threats that we're watching with this right now. Damaging winds, radar picking up on now 65 mile per hour winds. That's up. If you've been with us for the last minute, that's up 15 miles per hour from the last radar scan. So we are seeing signs that this storm is strengthening now. 65 mile per hour winds, not out of the question. And again, hail a concern as well. So let's switch over to the hail tracker and see if we've got anything showing up. nothing significant, maybe up to nickel-sized hail up towards the core of the storm. That's where that gray and white shading is here. So notice nickel-sized hail not out of the question, just to the south of FM 1375. The radar's lagging also, so the radar scans come in every few minutes. So this core is now starting to move south towards FM 1097 and I-45. So hail on the way towards that direction. But again, I'm personally most concerned about the wind threat with this storm. We are getting some really strong signatures of wind on here, and it would not surprise me to see this storm potentially start to rotate. In fact, we go over to our shear tracker, and we are picking up, I know it's really subtle, we'll zoom in on the area, but we are starting to get a little bit of a weak shear signature. I'll circle it for you there. Again, here's I-45, there's downtown Willis, Panorama Village down to the south, and here's Lake Conroe. So in between Willis and Lake Conroe, a little bit of weak shear now beginning to develop. What shear? Again, rotation. So now we're seeing this in two different radar products, the potential that this storm is trying to gain some rotation, but some pretty impressive radar values in here for wind. Trying to see if I can get some of the higher ones. There you go, now up to 72 miles per hour. So 72 mile per hour winds, and that's the wind speed on this green area. So that's the wind speed on the green color. That's the peak one. And then the wind speed going north, that's the red. That's going to be weaker, but still 15 miles per hour. So you've got 72 mile per hour winds going south. You've got 15 mile per hour winds going to the north. So in between, you're talking about a 90 mile per hour difference. And that's where that rotation starts to develop, is in that area. So this is all diving to the south. That's where this storm is going, down to the south, again, towards Panorama Village. So this is something that if you live in Panorama Village, Seven Coves Road, down towards League Line Road, out towards Highway 75, I-45, you probably want to start to move to an interior room and make sure that you're away from the edge of your home or structure. Even though this is not tornado warned, it is showing some signs of impressive rotation right now. Again, right around the Willis area. Tim, you're off screen. Is they saying anything in the Weather Service chat about this? Nothing. Okay, so they're probably doing the same thing that we're doing. They're probably waiting for a new scan to come in. They're probably waiting to see if this signature holds. And if it does, I would not be surprised to see them maybe upgrade this to a tornado warning. Just based on how strong that rotation is looking. But right now, it's a severe thunderstorm warning. We've got the potential to see 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Again, from Willis now pushing south. So Willis, you're in the worst of it right now. Panorama Village, you're next, and then it's Conroe. So if you're watching us from Conroe, if you're watching us from Panorama Village, now is the time to start moving inside. Move to an interior room. If you're outside right now, you're going out, you're looking at the clouds because the storm's moving your way. Go inside. If you've got friends and family outside, bring them inside. And again, get to a safe spot because, it doesn't take a tornado to do damage. And we saw that up in Huntsville. Huntsville, they had a roof collapse. Tornado warning. Okay, so now we've got the tornado warning. Okay, so we are in the process now here at KHOU of switching over. We're going to switch over to on air. Like I mentioned, we've been watching this. We've been watching this rotation tighten lately. And it does look like we have a tornado warning. So this tornado warning, Tim, can you read it off to me where it includes, how fast it's moving? Looks like it's going south and east. So from Panorama Village, this is going to cross I-45 and move towards Cut and Shoot. So Conroe, Cut and Shoot, moving 40 miles per hour to the south and east. We'll do a track on this. So everyone, again, heads up, tornado warning now in effect for Montgomery County. We'll give you the track on this. All right, 40 miles per hour. Expect this in Cut and Shoot. All right, so Willis High School, 324. So right now so this is pretty much on top of Willis High School, crossing over I-45 and Highway 75. Next is Calvary Baptist Church, 326. Lone Star Executive, 330. Cut and Shoot, this arrives for you at 335. Austin Elementary School, 337. That's the next time. So 337 is when this potential tornado arrives to Austin Elementary School, and then Grossville at 337 as well. So out towards the Waukegan area as you get into Conroe, and again, Cut and Shoot along Texas 105. So Highway 75 around Conroe, I-45, and then Texas 105. These are the areas that we're watching. If you're just joining us, tornado warning now in effect here. Montgomery County, here's Conroe. We're looking north. There's the storm. And what we're looking at on this image here is velocity. So we use radar velocity to detect rotations. That's our rotation detector. How do we do that? The colors tell us different things. So red color means that the wind is moving away from the radar. Green color means that the wind is moving towards the radar. So that's what we're watching right now, is that the two areas of wind moving in opposite directions, they create that area of rotation in the middle. So again, Conroe, you've got this tornado warning in effect. Are we on the air right now? Not yet. Okay, so we're starting to get this set up on air, but right now, again, if you're joining us on digital still, tornado warning in effect, Panorama Village crossing over I-45 and Highway 105. So again, the product that we're watching for right now, this is rotation detectors. So we look inside rain of a thunderstorm to see what the wind is doing, and that actually tells us when the potential for tornado starts to develop. So the red color there, that indicates wind that's moving away from the radar. Green indicates wind that's moving towards the radar. And in between those two, that's where you start to get that rotation. Think of it as you have like a water bottle in your hand, or a cylinder. I don't have IFB in my ear right now, unfortunately. I'm on IFB. I would be on 5 if you could get me one. So think of it this way. So think if you have a cylinder in between you, one arm is wind going one direction, the other arm is wind going a different direction. In between is where you get that rotation beginning to develop. So that's where the potential for a tornado comes in, and that's what we're looking at right here. So we see the winds moving in opposite directions. They're touching, and in that in between, you get that spin. So again, now this is coming into Panorama Village. New radar scan just coming in. This looks good. We're seeing less of a rotation signature. That doesn't mean that the storm can't spike up again. So there is the potential that we get that. Yes.
Give people a summary.
All right. So if you're just joining us on the TV side, thank you for joining us. We have a tornado warning. In fact, that's why we're breaking into programming right now. We were on digital. We just cut in for TV. So the red box here, that indicates our tornado warnings. That includes Cut and Shoot, Conroe, Panorama Village. So this is the core, basically, of Montgomery County. A really intense thunderstorm moving to the south here at about 40 miles per hour to the southeast. So that's what it looks like on radar. Tons of lightning out there. We'll take the radar off so you can get a better look, a better idea of what this thing looks like. So tornado warning in effect. This includes Montgomery County and a part of San Jacinto, and that's in effect until 3:45. So as we take the warnings off, you can see the core of this storm now just coming into Panorama Village. So you should be in your safe spot. Safe spot for you here in Southeast Texas, an interior room, a bathroom, a closet, an interior hallway. Basically, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Because a lot of us, we don't have basements, a lot of us don't have storm shelters, so that's what we do here in Southeast Texas. Interior room, that's where you gotta go. It's a fast moving storm. The rotation kind of spun up quick. Right now we're watching it cross over I-45. And this storm, again, moving to the southeast at about 40 miles per hour. And for the control room, I don't have my IFB in yet. So control room, if David, Paul, or Tim's ready, you want to do the split screen, you want to bring him in at any point, please feel free. But right now, we're just going to continue. Tornado warning in effect for another 15 minutes. Again, that includes Montgomery County and a part of San Jacinto County. So there's the newest scan. Let's see what the velocity signature looks like on this storm. Again, the reason why we're talking about the potential for a tornado is because of the rotation signature there. You can see the red coloring there. It's very faint, meeting up or touching the green color, and that's the indication that the storm is trying to spin. Now, the signature looked a lot stronger about 5 minutes ago. So the good news is that it has weakened in this latest scan. That being said, with supercell thunderstorms, they tend to kind of go through ebbs and flows. They peak, they weaken, they peak again. So right now we'll have to keep watching this. If a couple more scans go by and we continue to see the storm become what's known as outflow dominant, where all these winds that are pushing south kind of overtake that circulation, then they're going to drop the tornado warning. But right now you got to treat this as if a tornado could pop up at any time, because these radar scans that we get, they come in every few minutes, and a lot can happen in a few minutes. Things can spin up very quickly, winds can change very quickly in a storm. So again, tornado warning in effect for the next 15 minutes, and this includes Conroe. So if you live in Conroe, you got to be in your safe spot right now. So this goes for another 15 minutes. Storm's moving southeast at about 40 miles per hour. We've got Chief Meteorologist David Paul now with us. He's going to do a little more analysis on exactly what's going on with the storm. Dave, what do you say?
Thunderstorm that blew up just north of Huntsville, and this fired up about an hour ago, and it has just tapped into all of the available energy. It is now racing southeast at about 25 miles an hour. This storm has had a history of producing straight line wind damage, wind gusts of at least 50 to 55 miles an hour as it went through the Huntsville area. We know that there's been damage in Huntsville, I believe, to a gas station or it was a auto repair shop. There may have been some injuries reported there as well. That was about 20 minutes ago. And now the storm is showing significant signs of rotation. Let me just zoom in and show you exactly where this is right now. We'll stop the radar, and here's the storm that we are looking at. It is now right over Panorama Village, just crossing over I-45, just north of Conroe, just north of Loop 336. Again, this one's heading southeast at about 25 miles an hour. So there's the direction of the storm. This is going to pass between Conroe and Cut and Shoot over the next 10 to 15 minutes, very shortly. Right now, Conroe area, Cut and Shoot area, Panorama Village, you need to be in your safe place, which is on the first floor, interior room of your home or business. So interior, you want to get away from the exterior walls. Interior room of your home or your business away from windows. A closet inside your home or business is a great place to get. A small bathroom, a great place to get. You want to get as much structure, as much frame of the house or business up around you that protects you from storm debris. So here's our storm as it stands now. We look inside the storm and notice where these hot and cool colors are coming together. The cool green colors indicate raindrops that are racing toward the radar site in League City. The red indicating raindrops that are moving away from the radar site, which is located in League City. And therefore, that's our rotation right here. So again, this is at the moment a radar indicated circulation, a radar indicated tornado warning. This is in effect until 3:45, so about another 15 minutes. This is the type of storm that can put down a tornado and do damage in a hurry. It already has a history of doing damage as it raced through the Huntsville area. And again, we can back up and I'll show that to you. As this storm moved through Huntsville, it apparently did some damage to a auto body repair shop, ripped the roof off that. Right here, right as the storm was moving right through Huntsville, that would have been about 2:38, 2:40. So about 40, 45 minutes ago. That was the storm as it was developing and produced wind gusts to 51 miles an hour. That was back at 2:43. We'll move you forward in time slowly. Watch the storm evolve, moving south at about 25 to 30 miles an hour, move through New Waverly, now through Willis. And Tim Panday, just go ahead. You've got some new information to share with us.
Yeah, one of our producers just sent us this information from Butch Davis, Office of Emergency Management in Walker County, in Huntsville, a county seat. He says some reports of trees on homes in the Forest Field subdivision right off of I-45 in Huntsville. He also confirmed the roof collapse at Imperial Collision. Says so far no confirmed reports of injuries. Says they're currently on a generator over there at the Office of Emergency Management as well. So this cell has had a history of producing not only gusty winds, the potential of a tornado within this cell as well. Frequent lightning, blinding rain, and even a faint hail signature on this too, as it's pretty much cruising down the I-45 corridor and has Conroe in its sights right now, sitting pretty much right on top of the city and moving to the southeast at around 40 miles per hour. I see you looking at a hail detector there, David. Not much showing up right now, but why don't we check on the correlation coefficient and see if we're seeing any debris?
We're not seeing that. Here's another look at hail detector. I'm not seeing any significant hail threat there either. We look at shear. Yeah, not seeing anything significant there. So at the moment, we're just seeing rotation. And Tim, that rotation this far away from the radar beam, we're at several thousand feet here. Mm-hmm. And there is our potential rotation right here. Raindrops moving toward the radar site and away from the radar site, and there's a rotation. And that has moved right near downtown Conroe. maybe just east of I-45, right over at Loop 336. So folks, right here, right now, Loop 336, north of Airport Road, just north of Conroe, take cover, interior room of your home, away from windows, away from exterior walls. That's where the threat is greatest.
I'm on one.
And that is where you need to be. First floor of your business or home, away from windows. And that is the safest place to be as this goes by. At the moment, this is just a radar indicated rotation, a radar indicated tornado. At the moment, we do not have an actual report of a tornado on the ground, but we do have reports of damage, as Tim just told you, and earlier up in the Huntsville area where we had wind gusts at least to 51 miles an hour, did some damage to an auto body shop, and we may have had some injuries there as well.
Yeah, David, we got a brand new cycle there of the velocity imagery. If we can go over to Max 1 and come up to the upstairs.
And right here, Tim, take a look at the hail size.
Yeah,
golf ball
very
to lime-size hail possible with this storm right now as it moves from Panorama Village into the Conroe area.
So it's really checking all the boxes, David. We've got the large hail component, very heavy rain, frequent lightning, gusty winds, and the potential in here with it being a tornado-warned cell. It's rotating. It could put down a funnel cloud and result in a tornado that we've been tracking as it's been moving down the I-45 corridor out of Walker County and into Montgomery County within the last hour. You see this yellow polygon here. That's the residual severe thunderstorm warning as earlier. That's expected to expire in the next 9 minutes or so, but ongoing to the south there, south of Conroe, is this red polygon, and that is a tornado warning that is up for another 20 minutes or so as this cell, here's the rotation we've been watching right over the Conroe area and places just to the east of Interstate 45 there. This is dropping to the southeast at 40 miles per hour, so it's moving fast. There's not a ton of notice with this. In fact, let me put a storm track on it here for you and give you a feel for just how quickly it is moving out of Conroe and points southeast at around 40 miles an hour. Temple of Faith Baptist Church, if you live near there, it's pretty much right on top of you at the moment. You got about 8 minutes lead time for Faith Assembly of God Church. If you live near that area, you've got about 8 minutes to get to your safe place as this center of circulation here, the potential rotation of a potential tornado is dropping in that direction. So keep that in mind. If you're in that area, get to your safe place, turn on your phone, get the alerts, have the TV up, and we'll tell you when it's an all clear.
National Weather Service on the severe thunderstorm warning gave it a considerable damage tag.
Considerable damage tag as given by the National Weather Service on our severe thunderstorm warning from earlier, and that was warranted from the damage reports that we had already seen as it was moving through Walker County in the Huntsville area. Gusty winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Before it was even warned, they put the severe thunderstorm warning on it, and it dropped to the south and southeast and started to develop more of a pronounced rotation signature on radar, which is what we're tracking right now over the Conroe area, pretty much along and to the east of I-45 in that general area. FM 1314, FM 3083, just to the west of Cut and Shoot. Likely still some very gusty winds. I will tell you the most latest scan of this does show it a little more broad. And maybe cycling, we'll have to watch this carefully because that's had a kind of a history of doing that this past afternoon as it's dropping along I-45. So this could certainly be going through a cycling where if there was a tornado, it lifts back up and then it reorganizes and puts down another one. So we'll have to watch this carefully here. David, anything new on your end right along I-75 there?
Just digging into a closer view of exactly where the worst of it is right now. So just to set your bearings, here's I-45. You can see Panorama Village and Conroe. Here's Panorama Village. Here is downtown Conroe, right along I-45, 75. Here's where the worst of the weather is right now. Heavy rain, and we could have hail the size of limes in that portion of the storm right there. So let's get a closer view and zoom in very close on that. So this storm, right now, if you're on Mike Meadow Parkway, where it meets Wally Wilkerson Parkway, this is east of I-45, east of 75. You want to make sure you're inside an interior room of your home away from windows so that you don't the hail and wind potential for damage there. You can also see here's Highway 105 to Cut and Shoot. This storm is headed almost directly toward you, Cut and Shoot. It's heading right toward Cut and Shoot. If you're in Cut and Shoot, in Beach, in Yowens, this is the time right now to take cover. Don't wait any longer. Take cover. This storm has the potential to produce a tornado. We know it's already produced wind gusts that have done damage up in the Huntsville area. So again, Beach, Yowens, cut and shoot. Right now, here's where you need to be taking cover as this potentially tornadic thunderstorm heads in your direction. And once again, let me zoom out so you can get a better view of exactly where we are. It's Montgomery County, right in the middle of it. Conroe, it's just to your northeast. Here's downtown Conroe. Here is Willis. And heavy thunderstorms have developed in the Spring Woodlands area. This area here has not become severe, but it's something we're keeping an eye on. You can see where the colors go dark purple right in here. That's where we've got the very heavy rain, and it's possible we could be seeing hail up to the size of limes on our hail detector, suggesting that it could be that large of a hail, and that can be damage. That can also, obviously do damage to your person, to your body as well. Let me put a storm track on this for you. This is heading south-southeast at about 25 miles an hour. It's a tight system, but it is a powerful system. So again, cut and shoot here in just the next few minutes. In 4 minutes, it's expected to arrive in cut and shoot at 3:44. Waukegan by 3:49, Grangerland by 3:58 as this storm heads southeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. Once again, this storm moving right in this direction, right toward cut and shoot, toward Grangerland, as it heads into east and southeast portions of Montgomery County. The storm has a history of producing damage. It did so up in the Huntsville area as it moved through there. What we'll do is I'll back up the radar so you can watch the storm as it evolved and developed. This is it moving through Huntsville at about 2:39, 2:40. At that point, we got reports of damage to an auto body shop. There may have been some people that were injured there as the roof collapsed on that as well. Significant damage in Walker County reported by National Weather Service. Then the storm continued to race south across the north end of Lake Conroe, producing wind gusts in excess of 51 miles an hour. And now the storm is here just to the east side of downtown Conroe. It's basically hitting Conroe right now, but you can see cut and shoot right here. So again, we'll put some locators on. There's cut and shoot. Here's Conroe. Folks on Airport Road, Mike Meadow Parkway, north and east of downtown Conroe, the northeast side of Loop 336, getting just hit hard with hail, very strong winds, and potentially a tornado. Tim, I don't know if you're listening, we could take a look at the velocity again to see if that has tightened up or weakened. At the moment, though, it looks like it may just be hail and straight line winds being the greatest threat with this. Again, this tornado warning is in effect until 3:45.
Yep. Yeah, David, I want to give everybody an update here. There's a few new polygons that popped up on the screen since we last spoke. There's a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. So the tornado warning itself is up until 3:45, so just another couple minutes or so. However, that warning area has been extended farther to the south and east as a severe thunderstorm warning with the tag of tornado possible. So we'll be watching that carefully, but it looks like the tornado warning itself will be allowed to expire at 3:45. I want to take the warnings off here and show you what it looks like. We're now pulling up terminal radar signature out of Bush. So this is a little bit closer, a much closer radar glimpse. We're not shooting a mile into the air anymore. It's about half of that as we're looking into the storm now out by Conroe. You can still see the broad radar signatures here of a rotation. It is a rotating supercell thunderstorm dropping along I-45 here and over the Conroe area. Even if it's not a tornado causing the wind damage, that bright signature there on that green shading is likely winds of over 50 miles an hour. We'll put a tag on it now and just see what some of these wind speeds may be like. Looking at 43 miles per hour there, FM 3083, 35 miles per hour. Again, these are a little bit higher up in the sky, but still some very gusty, damaging winds within this particular severe thunderstorm cell. I'll take that off now. We're basically tracking the spin, the area, the center of rotation in this cell, and where that is a little bit hard to determine right now because we're seeing overall wind direction shifting over a larger area than we were earlier. Earlier was much more condensed. But likely if there was to be anything rotating, it'd probably be right here just to the south and southeast of Conroe. The overall storm cell is now moving 5 miles per hour slower than it was earlier. Is at southeast at 35 miles per hour. And this notch here is just about to exit the polygon for the tornado warning. So it's about to move out of the warned area south of Conroe towards Porter Heights and just to the east of the Woodlands here. Again, on the eastern side of I-45 is likely where we're going to find that rotation. Another indicator we use here is to see if there's any tornado on the ground potentially. We would throw something up called a correlation coefficient. Basically what this is a fancy word for a debris detector. And the radar is scanning the sky and looking for anything that just doesn't belong with hailstones or raindrops. Anything that's out of the ordinary will stand out with a brighter signature, like what we're seeing here. However, in this case, I think this is picking up on some larger hailstones. We did have a hail signature with this earlier too. There it is. You can see up on that, it's about golf ball size to maybe lime size if that's trying to make it all the way to the ground there. But that's the hail core just to the north and northeast of Conroe. This typically lags behind a little bit on the radar data, so likely this is setting up here a little bit farther to the south and moving on off towards the south and east at 35 or so. But I want to bring it back up here on the velocity signature. This is terminal radar, again coming in out of Bush. And we've got a very broad rotation here. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire. We just hit 3:45 in the afternoon, and no longer a tornado warning is in effect. So that's the good news. However, a severe thunderstorm warning still in effect here for this area, including Conroe, down to Porter Heights, Roman Forest, Dogwood Acres, and northern portions of Harris County until 4:30. Tornado is still possible. A lot of times these storms will cycle. They'll become a little bit more disorganized and then get their act together again. There's plenty of fuel with this cell. It's been riding a boundary as it moves along southeast at 35 just to the east of Interstate 45, south of Conroe now. But again, David, this is the area we'll be watching here carefully to see if it tries to tighten back up in the short term.
Okay, and pictures you're seeing right now coming out of the Forest Hill subdivision. Again, these are pictures coming out of Forest Hill subdivision. Significant wind damage here. Trees knocked down. You can see the debris in the parking lot. So we've got reports of now trees down. This is damaged. Looks like an apartment complex. Again, near the Forest Hills subdivision. This is as the storm rolled out of Walker County into Montgomery County. For the moment, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. And as Tim was just explaining, the rotation detector looks like for the moment the storm has pulsed down in intensity. So at the moment, just hail and heavy rain and lightning the threat. But again, these are Forest Hills subdivision. This is in Montgomery County. And so we've got trees down and significant damage there from the storm. Good afternoon. If you're just joining us, we've been tracking a thunderstorm as it rolled out of Walker County into Montgomery County, began to rotate. It did some damage to a business up in Huntsville. This was to an auto body shop, ripped the roof off. It may have done some injury to some folks up there. You saw just a moment ago the trees down across portions of Walker and Montgomery County, Forest Hill subdivision there. So trees down as we've had wind gusts reported to at least 51, 52 miles an hour. And for a time here in the last 15, 20 minutes, we've had significant rotation in this storm indicated by radar. That's why the tornado warning was issued. That has been allowed to expire. And as we take a look at radar, I'll show you a couple of things. First of all, we're looking at the lightning. 111 lightning strikes just in this tight little area here in the last 10 minutes. That's going to be right in between Conroe and Cut and Shoot. That's where the intense thunderstorm is. 103 lightning strikes. So still maintaining its lightning strike count. That's something we watch for carefully. It's a great indication of whether the storm is intensifying or weakly. But maybe the most important tool we've been using this afternoon is being able to look inside the storm, seeing the velocity inside the storm, and that tells us whether or not we've got rotation by looking for raindrops that are moving either toward or away from the radar site. And as we look at this velocity scan right now, the hot and cool colors coming together have dissipated in intensity. Though we're under a severe thunderstorm warning here. Porter Heights, Roman Forest, Dogwood Acres. This is heading toward the Atascocita area. If it holds together, it's going to reach Dogwood Acres, Atascocita, Roman Forest. So you're going to want to pay very close attention here. Interior room away from windows is the safest place to be. And what I'll do is I'm going to put this back so we can see the radar, and then we'll put up a storm track on this. And just looking at the latest radar signature, the storm has weakened a little bit. It has weakened a little bit. Here's the main energy of the storm moving southeast at about 20, 25 miles an hour. So who's in the path of this storm now? Oak Ridge North by 351 here in just a couple of minutes. Splendora, 409. Reaches Roman Forest by 414. Plum Grove by 420. And Atascocita, north side of Lake Houston area. So Kingwood, Atascocita, expect those storms, the stronger storms, to arrive around 4:30, 4:36 if this cell holds together. And it's feeding on a lot of heat and humidity, the energy in the atmosphere. You can feel it today. It's been very hot and sticky. Think of that as fuel that these thunderstorms can feed off of. And as Tim mentioned a moment ago, this has lit up along a boundary where we have a little bit of a focus of energy, and that has allowed this to just unleash this strong thunderstorm, which is now a severe thunderstorm. And the severe thunderstorm warning will be in effect until 4:15, so this is going to take us into the 4 o'clock show. But again, the good news for the moment, our tornado warning has been allowed to expire, and we'll take another look at exactly who is getting hit by the strongest weather. And you can expect hail here, at least P to dime size, maybe nickel to quarter size, right over cut and shoot right now.
Yeah, David, you were talking about the hail earlier. I want to show you the hail reports.
Let's do it.
Yeah, here we are. We got a hail core that's pretty much eastbound out of Conroe along Highway 105 as you're headed towards Cut and Shoot. A pretty large core here showing up that could be golf ball size, so that could cause damage to vehicles parked outdoors in this area, and it has maintained its intensity for the last 3 or 4 scans. So that's indicative of a long-lived hail core that's dropping right along that storm track. There's the update on it now. It actually just completely almost went away. We still have a small signature here to the south and southwest of Waukegan of maybe nickel size. So that's a big improvement there. And you also have to account for some melting too. That hailstone is falling from the cloud base and encountering the warm air, so it does melt. So a lot of times it's much smaller than what's being indicated here on the radar imagery. All right, I want to show you radar again, what it looks like where that hail core might be. Sometimes also the radar confuses very large raindrops for hailstones, and that could certainly be the case in this area here where we've got some very high reflectivity values south of Highway 105, embedded with extremely heavy rain, low visibilities there, and a lot of lightning and thunder. David was putting some of the numbers on there, showing over 100 strikes in just this small area in the last 10 minutes. That's a 10-minute count, so very frequent lightning here. South of Cut and Shoot, again, here's Highway 105 coming out of Conroe. All the action is dropping to the south of there at this time. Let's check on also how the velocity signature looks. As we were pulling up earlier, the terminal radar signature here out of Bush, and I'm going to turn it back on now. And here we are south of Conroe. Look at how hot those colors are, as David was mentioning earlier. We have a hot green and a hot red. Those are strong winds heading in opposite directions. So we've got the green heading south towards the radar site and the red heading out away from it over Old Houston Road, Grangerland there, FM 1485. Some of these values, as indicated by radar, could be up and over. Let's see what they're putting out here. Up and over close to 60 miles per hour right along Stidham Road and FM 1314 out of Porter Road as well. David?
That looks like that might be cycling back up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's something we'll keep a very close eye on. We had damage reported in Huntsville. Is Greg on the phone? Greg Mathis, Huntsville Fire Department Chief. Hi, Greg. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good, sir.
We understand that you may have had some damage, and we had a report that there may have been some injuries up there at an auto body shop. Can you clarify that for us, please?
We've had some minor injuries associated with the weather event.
Can you have any more detail? Who was injured? Have they gone to the hospital? And was this involved in this the auto body shop that we understand where a roof was ripped off by the storm about an hour ago?
Those specifics of those injuries and who they were, I can't give out. But yes, we did have some damage to an auto body shop. We've had some damage to some homes in the area, and preliminaries show about a 3 square mile area has been damaged by this weather event.
That's interesting. That's actually
we're
great.
Still early on gathering information.
That's good information, because so 3 square mile area. That's what we're seeing. This is a very, very small in scope, but very large in scale, very intense thunderstorm that came through there. Greg, I'm curious, the damage to the homes that you mentioned, do you know, was this caused by falling trees? We
do have quite a few trees down in the area. I have have noticed some trees on some residential structures. Our survey of this area is currently underway right now, but there are lots of trees down in the area.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for your report. That really helps us here in the Weather Center here at KHOU get our heads around exactly what's gone on up there. It sounds like straight line wind damage. We'll have to get a survey team up there. But Greg, thank you so much for the report. So again, Greg Mathis, Huntsville Fire Department Chief, giving us his time, reports trees down, damaged structures due to trees down, does report at least a couple of minor injuries. And we do have reports of a auto body shop roof being damaged there. This is all in the Huntsville area, and this was about an hour ago as this thunderstorm was intensifying and rolled through there. Since then, we did have a tornado warning for this in Montgomery County near Conroe. That was over the last 45 minutes. That warning has been allowed to expire. At the moment, we had no actual reports of a tornado, no sightings, but it's something we're watching very carefully for. We're also paying attention to the number of lightning strikes. They've dropped from more than about 100 to 110 down to 93. And again, we're efforting pictures as we get them. Trees down. Walker County, Montgomery County. Tell me again where that is. So again, this is the Forest Hill subdivision, and this is in Montgomery County as the storm moved across the area. And there you see trees down, damaging roofs at apparently an apartment complex. This is what we might expect to see from a severe thunderstorm that we measured winds at least 51 miles an hour. They may have been stronger than that. And also over the past week, we've been talking about how our soil moisture content is so high. The soil is very soupy in many places that strong straight line winds can bring down these trees, and it makes it more of a threat when that soil is just not as grippy, not as hard as it usually is. Now, this is important. Notice the number of strikes, and I'm going to highlight this, has dropped to 85. That's very important. Now down to 84. So that's very important. That is a clear indicator that the intensity of this storm and the likelihood that it will produce severe weather is, at least for the moment, dropping. Just in the past 10 minutes, we had strike counts up to 110, 115. Now we're down to 86. This is over a 10-minute period, now 84. So it's something that we here in the weather office pay very close attention to. It is it's like measuring the pulse of a storm, the number of lightning strikes over a given time. And as long as that stays down there, 87, 85 or so, the storm is, at least for the moment, not intensifying. Let me put a storm track on this one more time. The storm itself moving southeast at about 25 miles an hour. If this holds together, it's knocking on the door of the Lake Houston area. So again, this reaches Roman Forest, the stronger part of the storm, by 3:59 here in just a couple of minutes. Humble by 4:08, Atascocita by 4:15, Huffman by 4:25, Sheldon 4:39, Barrett 4:44. I see our lightning strike count now down to 81. That's the lowest we've seen. Okay, and we're just efforting new video from Huntsville. Wow. Trees down. That is a power pole that has been snapped. Those are hard to snap. So we either had significant straight line wind or perhaps a funnel cloud that could have done that type of damage. So again, this is live video just coming into the newsroom from Huntsville. I see branches down, limbs down. That is a snapped power pole hanging upside down right there. There it is right there, snapped upside down. Again, there's another one knocked over. When I see that, it makes me think they may have had at least a funnel cloud come through there. Lightning strikes now down to 80. We continue to have signs of weakening. We'll see if that continues. And you can see the damage there again. More snapped trees, down trees. This again from the Huntsville area. Those are big trees. That takes significant wind to do that. Those are not uprooted. Those are just snapped. That appears to be a power line that is down. Again, another tree that has been snapped. So as this was developing, this happened about an hour and 10 minutes ago as the storm was racing through Huntsville. Power lines down there. as an intense thunderstorm breaks through Walker County. This is the same cell that raced through the Conroe and Cut and Shoot area and is now weakening, but we're waiting to see how Conroe and Cut and Shoot did. I don't have fresh video or pictures from there. That's something that we are efforting right now. That is where the storm really cranked. And I'm very curious to see how, if we had any hail or significant reports of any large hail up around Conroe, Cut and Shoot as that came through, because we certainly were getting a very strong hail signature. Our hail tracker was indicating the possibility of hailstones up to lime size. Those can do significant damage to your car and, of course, injure your person as well. Okay, we're coming up on the top of the hour here. It's 4 o'clock. You're watching KHOU 11. We broke into programming about a half hour ago as a severe thunderstorm became tornadic. Thunderstorm warning came into effect. Pat Calvin was on the air as the storm went potentially tornadic. And Pat, at that time, we hadn't seen those damage pictures coming out of Huntsville. Clearly, we had straight line winds, and that could have been a funnel cloud coming through Huntsville.
Yeah, you know, and we looked at the velocity, and it looked straight line at the moment. I mean, it was really strong. I mean, and I said this, so we actually started, as we usually do here at KHOU for a severe thunderstorm warning, we actually started on our digital platform. And then once it became a tornado warning, that's when we broke in on TV. But I was saying before we made it onto television that you don't need a tornado to do a lot of damage. And I think those photos from Huntsville are proof of that. If it does end up being a straight line damaging wind event, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds can do a lot of damage. And sometimes they can do more damage than a tornado because they're more widespread, whereas a tornado is very localized. You can get more area covered by damaging wind gusts. So there's our thunderstorm right now. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 4:30. The tornado warning so far has been allowed to drop. So 4:30, that's when that's in effect until. And you know, as Dave was saying, you know, we're watching the lightning count on this. Right now it looks like it's starting to diminish, but I was talking to Tim Pandages off camera. I'm really curious to see what the interaction between that cell that popped up right north of Spring, what that interaction is going to look like here over the next 5 to 10 minutes. You know, if the storm continues to dive south and it continues to weaken, that's going to be a good sign. But if that storm helps to maybe energize something or spin something else up, you know, this is something we're going to keep a very close eye on. So we switch over to our rotation detection product. And we've been talking about this for the last 30 to 45 minutes. We've got two colors on here, red and green. So there's our radar site. Green color means that the wind is moving towards the radar. Red color means that the wind is moving away from the radar. So we got to get in for a closer look and actually kind of see what's going on. So the area that's most affected by this coming up here is now going to be as you get into southeastern portions of Montgomery County into northeastern Harris County. So the Porter Heights neighborhood, you're about to get the worst of the storm crossing over Highway 242. So again, the red color there, that indicates we're seeing some of those winds again going away from the radar. So if we had to draw it, it would look something like this. Okay, so that's the direction of that batch of wind. And then the green is kind of diving down towards the south. And when storms begin to weaken, you know, it's a good sign, right? Obviously, we don't want that tornado threat. We want the storm to weaken, but things can happen as these storms weaken. Remember, these storms are 30, 40, 50,000 feet in the air. And as they weaken, they begin to collapse. They begin to lose that energy. And they begin to become what's known as outflow dominant, right? So what you see here is inflow coming into the storm and outflow pushing out of the storm. When that outflow becomes dominant over the inflow, that's when the storm is showing signs of either cycling or weakening. But what can also happen is you get this big straight line damaging wind burst, similar to what we had up in Huntsville. So we're not out of the woods yet. That's what we're trying to tell you. The lightning count may be dropping, the tornado threat may be dropping, but that severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect for a reason. So until 4:30, we got to keep a very close eye on this storm as it pushes to the south. So right now coming up on the East Tex Freeway. So if you live in Porter Heights, if you live out towards Dogwood Acres, Roman Forest, you know, especially areas on the southwest side of the cell where you get that outflow, that's where we could maybe see some potentially really strong winds. But that's the only cell that we've been watching so far today. You know, as we take it back across the rest of the area and we switch you back over to radar, you know, it's been a really quiet day. In fact, down to the coast, we're actually getting sunshine. One little cell popping up over League City, but this is the main story right now. This is the main event. Again, severe thunderstorm warning in effect here till 4:30. And the hail Something we don't see here in Southeast Texas very often, and something we certainly don't see very often this time of year has been pretty impressive. And this is the last thing I'll leave you with before we toss over to Tim and Dave. But look, I mean, obviously dropped quite a bit. So this kind of goes to what Dave was saying. Lightning counts dropped. The hail signature has dropped. We were seeing a lot of blue on this before. Now it's barely showing up as gray. Karina, what were you just saying in my ear? Tim, so Tim, you've got the latest update on power outages. I'm sure that when we saw power lines snapped up in Huntsville, I'm sure we're going to see more as this storm, continues to carve its way south.
Yeah, viewer images showed us that power lines were snapped, so power outages is certainly going to be a problem. Let's take a look at the energy outage tracker right now across parts of the area that we're dealing with this storm. Numbers are I guess we'll talk about the hail first. There's a look at the hail track over the last couple of hours. It was really diving over northern portions of Lake Conroe, and there were actual reports just to the east of Conroe. I'll stop it here and show you where that hail core was, of golf ball sized hail. You saw we had that signature here, up to tennis ball potentially in this area, just to the east of I-45, south of Willis and north of Conroe. The actual report came just to the east of Conroe, but as Pat was talking about playing this out over the last 2 hours, it really has died off as it's moved on into southeastern portions of Montgomery County, headed towards Dogwood Acres, just before hitting Interstate 69 there. Let's go back over to velocities and see what the winds are looking like with our terminal radar out of Bush. I'll turn that on. You can still see there's a pronounced change in wind speed and direction with a short amount of distance there, kind of nestled in between 45 and 69 to the west of Roman Forest, to the north of Dogwood Acres. Again, this looks to be more so some straight line winds at this time. If we start to see some couplets develop there, then we'll turn our interest back over to the possibility of a tornado being involved here. But right now, severe thunderstorm warnings with a tornado possible. Nothing indicated right now, either on radar signatures or from viewer reports. However, it did have a history of possibly producing a tornado up in Walker County and portions of northern Montgomery County earlier. But for now, we're left with a severe thunderstorm warning for 24 more minutes with this little impulse of energy here. Some winds that have been gusting up to 50, 60, even potentially 70 miles per hour, causing a lot of issues with downed trees. David brought up a great point earlier with all of our rain that we've picked up in the past couple weeks, how root systems are compromised. Winds that normally wouldn't take down a tree now would, because the root systems are not able to kind of anchor themselves in properly. Dave?
Absolutely. I think this is a huge factor in the trees coming down across Walker County and potentially also Montgomery County. A little bit earlier, we talked with Greg Mathis reporting from the Huntsville Fire Department about trees down and damage there to structures. We saw pictures from the Forest Hill subdivision in Montgomery County with trees down and damage there as well. We saw some power lines snap, some video there from Walker County as well, the Huntsville area. And also, Robert Hirsch is now live with us. Good afternoon, Robert. You are with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. You're at the headquarters there for the Huntsville prison system, but you guys had to shelter in place or take cover from this storm. Is that right?
Well, David, let me tell you, this storm came up quickly. About an hour ago, it was sunshine, and then within a matter of minutes, it was like being in the middle of a hurricane.
Wow.
Straight line winds, the rain going sideways. I've been through some hurricanes, and I've been through some tropical storms, so I know what they're like. And it came up quickly. The facility here at TDCJ headquarters, we've got a lot of windows here, and we were telling everybody to stay away from the windows. My office, fortunately, is in the middle of the buildings. I have no windows in my office, so I was pretty secure. But the wind came up quickly. We've lost a couple of trees here at our headquarters in Huntsville. But thankfully, nobody hurt, nobody injured. But it came up quickly.
Yeah, Robert. Well, we know we had winds at least to 51 miles an hour, so you definitely experienced strong tropical storm force winds. And you're right, this storm came up really in a hurry. We were in the weather office and just kind of keeping an eye on the radar out of the corner of our eye, and we were not expecting this type of thunderstorm to develop in this atmosphere. In fact, that's one of the reasons we have an air quality alert. So, Robert, to your point, this did come up very quickly. Anybody injured there? Were you able to get everybody away from windows? And I love the fact that you were getting folks away from the exterior walls and the windows.
Again, nobody hurt that we've been told of. No injuries reported. There was some damage at the Wyndham School District. That's the school district that is for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for the inmates to go to school. There was a roof that was heavily damaged over there. That's over near the Wynn unit on the other side of Interstate 45 from where our headquarters are on the north side of Huntsville. Some damage there, but I have not seen it. But what I'm seeing here at our headquarters, we've got at least 3 trees that are down, one that's in the parking lot. I'll send a picture shortly to Denise on your desk so that she can have that for your broadcast later on.
Robert Hurst with Texas Department of Criminal Justice at their headquarters in Walker County. Thank you so much for the report. And one of the interesting things you just mentioned there at the end, trees down in your parking lot, whether it was tornadic or straight line winds, because our soil is so wet and root systems are compromised, we're getting more trees down, I think, than we would normally have with these storms. And so trees coming down is definitely a threat with these stronger thunderstorm winds. You're looking at a live radar. This is where we stand right now. The storm outlined in the yellow box is a severe thunderstorm warning for Roman Forest, for the Kingwood area, for Atascocita until 4:30. And I see a new thunderstorm is fired up there just west of just west of the Woodlands near Magnolia. We'll keep a close eye on this as we move along. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with 11 News at 4, more news and more weather updates as we head through the afternoon.
Our story, our history. Sponsored by HEB.
Join us this month as KHOU 11 celebrates Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander heritage. All of the culture, passion, diversity, and flavors that are a vital part of the heart of our city. It's our story, our history. Wednesdays at 6, KHOU 11 stands for Houston.
The KHOU 11 Allergy Index is sponsored by Kaplan Sinus Relief.
Houston's summer is uniquely hard on AC systems. The intense heat requires special pre-season maintenance, so your system cools better and lasts longer. Call the air specialist and be ready for summer.
Save 20% on mattresses at a store near you. A better night's sleep starts here so that you can focus on more important things. Shop now at a store near you.
Our car was T-boned by a dump truck that ran a stop sign. Just one call to Gus got us $154,000. We trusted Gus, and so should you.
If you have been seriously injured in a car accident, call 866-TRUST-GUS.
Come out to Gallery Furniture's Memorial Weekend Super Sale. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic Luxe Breeze mattress. Sleeps up to 10 degrees cooler, and the incredible Pro Smart Base has AI to give you a sleep score every night, teach you how to sleep better. Also has sound massage and lumbar support. All at Gallery Furniture today. Buy this incredible unit today. Astros win it all. You get double your money back. Spend $5,000, get $10,000 back. Astros win it all. Sleep great tonight.
This may look like an action-adventure movie, but it's a Nissan sales event ad. Things are heating up. Good thing this Rogue has the most standard